Another thing we wanted to talk about uh, is the 50th anniversary of Black Sabbath's "Paranoid," one of the
Yeah, dude,
all-time
which
greatest
was
metal records. Yeah,
yeah, and interestingly enough, initially intended to be much more aptly, in my opinion, called War Pigs.
yeah.
The 1970 record was deeply dark anti-war, but the ominousness. I mean, people forget Black Sabbath essentially invented the sound of metal, right? That
Yeah.
dropped tuning on the guitar that creates
Mhm.
that
Those heavy
wom
riffs. Yeah.
wom wom. It's totally. It's total. It's evolved, right? And I mean, we've seen metal, but 50 years ago, the Beatles were still making music when they put
Yep.
out this record, and it has a heart, a pig's heart, right, or whatever the hell that. Or no, it's not a pig's heart. It looks like the march. It
I can
looks like a
never
pig's
really
heart.
tell what that is, to be
Okay,
honest.
well, it looks like a pig's heart, but it's actually like a bunch of soldiers on it. I remember because I
Okay.
always thought it was like a heart shape, but then it's like if you
Uh-huh.
zoom in on it, it looks like a bunch of soldiers.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comment section is going to rail me because I described it horribly, but um,
Sure.
it's really I mean, obviously the title track War Pigs, this like sprawling track, generals gather in their masses
Yeah.
just like witches at black masses, just like this like
There's that. Yeah.
super
Oh, that was just
gritty,
because
grimy.
there's that great line on War Pigs about how the politicians send the kids to war to die while they basically just do it for fun.
Yeah, Satan
Really,
laughing spreads his wings.
yeah. You're clearly a little even more familiar with the lyrics than I have. But it's it's that song in particular is just such a damning deconstruction of really the military industrial complex, the forces of evil that they saw, conspiring around the time with the Vietnam War, which everyone knew was for nothing. People obviously we act like it was like the Pentagon Papers and stuff, which everyone realized that the Vietnam War was for nothing. But most people at the time, realized that it was a for-profit war, and that the Americans and Vietnamese alike were being sent to death for basically no good cause. And it was that anger that was reflected on that song certainly, and much of the tracks on this album. There's
And
another.
yeah, the whole album is decidedly
Yeah.
working class, and
Yes.
and it's whole demeanor. I mean, it's the waning. I mean, you've basically like it's like that whole period in between like Vietnam. Nobody knows exactly like how it's gonna like play out. It was really, really, really unpopular in the UK. Yeah, and there was a real obviously the economy was in the shit at the time, and all of these things that just created this new sound of music essentially. I mean,
Yeah.
like Ozzy Osbourne was like a robber and a criminal basically and a drug addict, right? Like, but through all of that like zeitgeist of the time, uh, they were able to truly create something crazy. And I mean, obviously, I don't want to give the credit really to Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi or Tony Lomi, or however the fuck that guy's name is.
The
That's
song,
the guy that,
the songwriter. Yeah.
yeah, and he wrote the music for them too.
Yeah.
Um,
Osborne was more just the
he had
vehicle
that
for.
amazing voice, and I
Yeah.
will go ahead and stand for only the Ozzy era
Hey,
of
well,
Black Sabbath. I
I will
fucking
say,
hate the Dio era shit.
okay, maybe it's just like some nostalgia. When I was a kid and I was just first like listening to Sabbath, I actually didn't realize that there were two eras, and I just like I never
Oh, really?
that it was two different people. Although obviously in retrospect it's so obvious. So
Oh,
actually, some of
yeah.
my earliest memories of Sabbath were of the album Heaven and Hell, which is the first
The first
one.
Dio
Yeah,
album.
the first Dio album, and I actually do stand by some of the tracks on there. I mean, it sounds more dated than like Paranoid for sure, but I do stand by some of the tracks in that. I still think it's like the instrumentation and lyrics are killer. It's just that the singing is not
Dude,
as
I
robust.
fucking hate hair metal so much that I
Yeah,
can't get
dude.
over the
I mean,
vocals on it.
I never really fucked with much past that one album. It's just that one album. There's some like the song Neon Nights is like a fucking banger, but yeah, it's mostly that. It's mostly that earlier Osborne Paranoid and God, what's the album that came out like 6 months after it? The other really famous Sabbath album with Sleep on
Oh,
it and stuff.
wait, which one?
The one that came out like 6 months after. God, I'm looking it up.
What's that, like Mob Rules?
Master of
No.
Reality, the one with
Master of Reality. Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, Sabbath. Yeah. Anyway, like as I was saying, as a young 11 or 12-year-old who had mostly was just into like the Beatles and Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead, hearing the vicious riffs and intense dark energy
Tragically hip
of
choices there, Gavin, by the way.
of, uh, of Black Sabbath, you know, it was a real like wow moment. Like this is crazy. This is like I said, a tapping into like a darker, more like primordial energy, and I fucked with it from an early age.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I've always loved Sabbath. I mean, their music, and obviously, you know, it's not as edgy and crazy and dark as it was when it came out in 1970. Now it's, of course, you know, a highly popular music that you hear on the radio and stuff. But like, you still can tap into that headspace if you know, kind of close your eyes and let the music really whisk you away into this truly. I don't know. It's great stuff, and that record especially just holds up so fantastically all these years later, 50 years later. You know, it still
Yeah,
sounds.
dude,
Like
it's fucking crazy that you said that those albums were the albums that you were listening to when you were growing up. Though all I was listening to when I was growing up was like fucking Crazy Sexy Cool by TLC and like the Marshall Mathers LP.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know why. I just like for some reason like started checking out like Sabbath CDs from the library and shit like that after I got like I said, after I got tired of like the Beatles and Jefferson Airplane and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I do love Paranoid and yeah, that song War Pigs is definitely probably their masterpiece in my opinion. So
Oh yeah, 100%. One of the greatest metal tracks of all time.
yeah, dude. So yeah, 50th anniversary. Check it
Rough
out.
week. Settle down, everybody, and yeah, spend some
more
time
pigs.
with yeah, Black Sabbath Paranoid, which I meant to say at the beginning was actually the album itself was initially supposed to be entitled War Pigs, which is why you have the generals on the front making that like weird. I've always thought it looked like a pig's heart.
Yeah, it just looks like a
waving their arm, because it's like three generals that are all like swiping swords, I think. But either way, it was originally supposed to be entitled War Pigs, but the label thought that Paranoid was much more marketable. So they actually had that track Paranoid, like finished with my woman cause she couldn't. Yeah, that one was like a total last minute addition, but it became like a smash hit.
Yeah, and obviously you hear that in like, you know, movies like
all the time. Yeah, it's like 70s, a classic. Yeah.
You know, you're gonna hear that. It's like I said, Sabbath is really it's become so much more popular. But as you alluded to, when it first came out, it was really like, you know, hated and misunderstood and edgy and like weird.
I mean, Rolling Stone magazine fucking trashed their first album review.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.